provide vegetative removal.
Okay.
They provided the things we needed in the volume that we needed it.
Okay, so let me ask you a question as a legislator, just so you understand what we go through. So, forget this company. Actually, I've heard some good things about this company, so I'm not even going to discuss the company. It's such a blind item, right? People see their wonderful trees, and I'm one of those people, going down wherever they exist. And, you know, people call legislators and say, why? Why did 50 trees have to go down? When they go out to cut down trees, is there an arborist with them?
There is a landscape architect and an arborist on all the tree climbing crews.
And who approves, are they, well, that's the two good questions behind me.
Okay.
Number one, are they county employees? Number two,
the landscape architects are either county employees or consultants from firms that we have hired. They do not belong to Looks Great. Looks Great does not do the assessment. The 4 county, either landscape architects that we have, 2 of them, or 2 from firms that we hire, local firms, they do the assessment of the tree.
and the arborist?
The arborist is there in case it's a climbing situation and there's another tree and any kind of scenario they have to deal with up in the tree, the arborist will deal with that. But it's only in the tree that is identified by the assessment team.
Okay, so now I'm going to get to one last question, and then I'm going to turn it over because, you know. So when you decide trees are going to come down, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because I know so many trees came down on their own, to tell you the truth. I assume they removed those trees too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. How do you decide to go into, let's say, parkland? How do you go into preserves? How do you make a determination that you're needed there? In other words, I can understand where I live, Plainview and Syosset, forget Long Beach, nothing was hit like that. But if you read the papers throughout the whole thing, Plainview and Syosset were decimated with the winds and the trees. I could see the trees. I knew they had to be removed. I knew that they were bending over even after the storm and they had to go. But how do you make that determination when they're going in and you're paid? Let me ask you a question. We're paying by the tree, right? For them?
We're only paying by the tree in the roadway. We're paying time and material in the preserves. In other words, if they cut 1 tree down in the preserve, they get the same amount of money than if they cut 10. We had an error where a production team got into a preserve. We ended it after the first day. We didn't realize they were there.
All right, so it's time
and material in the preserve.
But it's by the tree on a roadway.
On a roadway, or in a drainage area, or a stormwater basin, it's basically production. But we had an error. We had a production team that went into a preserve. We removed them from the preserve and put a time and material team.
Dennis?
Thank you, Devon. Just 2 quick things. A woman came up to me yesterday. She said she lives in Massapequa, and she had a company come to her home right away, take the trees down in the backyard, which was bordered by a preserve, and the company cut down trees in the preserve and took off. So one of our county workers went to her and said, listen, you got to pay to have those trees removed out of it, because they're your trees, we know they're yours. You can see the stumps and everything. You're going to have to pay to get them removed. Are you saying now that these companies, the company that we're taking, is going to take those trees down, she's not going to have to pay to get them removed?
No, if they took the trees down and it's their tree, I certainly wouldn't want the county to pay to remove their tree.
Okay, just want to make sure of that. 2, earlier today we heard about 143 trees in Glen Cove that were cut down. Do we have any?
I don't have a number on what that was.
It's who did the work or whatever, just somebody.
Looks Great Services.
Oh, Looks Great went in and did that.
Yes.
Okay, was it and they did it by mistake?
Well, no, the wrong team went in to do the work.
Okay.
The work that was done was identified by the landscape architect to be done, just the wrong billing group went in there. The same work, from my understanding, was done that would have been done whether they were production or time and material.
So you earlier you heard that there was concern about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I've had Mr. Arnado speak to Legislator Whitten several times about it. And,
okay.
Yes. And I spoke with Mayor Swazi myself several times about it.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
well
you very
aware.
much. Answer my question. Thank you.
Go ahead, Legislator Jacobs.
So, What's disturbing me is that I'm hearing that they were in there for 4 days prior to the stoppage,
Okay.
and that there were approximately, I'm not going to throw out a figure like I didn't count each tree, but it's come to my attention there could be upwards of 140 trees that were taken down in those 4 days.
It's easy for me to find out. We'll just go to the debris log. We electronically track every tree that's either down or taken down. So we have an electronic monitoring system where they take pictures of the trees and the whole bit. They come down, they get logged in to the site. I can get you the number that was taken down. I couldn't tell you what it was, and if they were in there for 2 days or 3 days, when I found out about it, I removed them.
I believe you. I believe you did. I'll tell you, I'd appreciate more information on this if you wouldn't mind, all right?
No problem.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I just wanted to come on.
Hey, Rich, how are you?
How are you, sir?
I mean, the extensiveness of the Glen Cove situation, I think Legislators Jacobs covered quite extensively. Let me ask you a question, because you had mentioned something in your initial comments about $13 million being expended so far. And then I also want to couple that with the fact that you had mentioned in March of '09,
there was a
Lowe's Grade was selected
through
a bids process.
No. There was
Yeah, I want to come back to that.
The county Office of Emergency Management, along with advice from Public Works, from what I understand, I wasn't here, created a debris management plan in March of 2009. Looks Great was one of the 4 recommended federal disaster contractors that were put into the debris management program.
And who were the other 3?
I can't remember offhand. It's a group from Alabama, somebody from California, and then another person from Maine. So I don't remember their company.
Looks Great is from
Huntington.